Let's talk today about 5 keys to happiness and prioritizing what really matters in your life. So these are all things that I learned the hard way, and I want to share them with you in hopes that one or more of them, okay, something is crawling on me. Anyway, in hopes of one or more of them may help you to improve your own life. These are not in any order, and in each of them I give you suggestions on how to prioritize these things. Not just to say what's a priority, but how to really make it a priority. So there are 5 key things that we are going to talk about. They are time spent reflecting, wellness, prioritizing your life and not someone else's, and being present for your life, as well as prioritizing what you love, prioritizing time for what you love. And on the last one, I'll share with you a story about something that happened in my corporate career that really radically impacted the way that I approached my job and the people that I managed at that point in time. So this one change in perspective there really resulted in a huge shift, not only with what my team was able to accomplish for the good of the company, but also really in the quality of life for my team. So it was something, probably one of the things I was most proud of in my corporate career. So it was actually such a big deal that I was rewarded a week little boondoggle trip for what my team accomplished. But what I was most proud of was like the quality of life improvement that my team had. So that one I'll follow up with a journal prompt that comes from that experience. So at a minimum, make sure you listen into that particular one. So let's go ahead and dive in. First, let's talk about reflection. It's really important that you be intentional about creating your life, and this takes regular reassessment. Things can change over time with the seasons, with family changes and responsibility, and work responsibilities. And you have to prioritize taking time to reflect on what's working and what isn't. Now, if you're using a J&B Living Journal, you know that you're already encouraged to do this at the end of each and every week. And this is important because what's working well today in your life might not work so well a month from now when life shifts. And so here are some journal prompts you can use to ask yourself at the end of each week. What brought me happiness this week? And do I want to do more of this? And if so, how can I make that happen? Also, what was most frustrating? Does this happen often? And if so, why? And what can I do differently to prevent it? It's important to reflect regularly and often. As I've found that typically, you just make one little tiny change to your routine to make life flow better, but usually that doesn't really work or fix it. For me at least, typically it requires making a small change to my routine and then assessing that, how it went, was it working, and then tweaking it slightly, tweaking it again, and oftentimes it seems like you need to try to do something just a little differently time after time, and after a number of small changes, adjustments, and tweaks, you finally get to a routine that's really working well for you. So you have to be patient with it. But if you're not prioritizing finding the time to reflect and being intentional about creating your life, it's likely that you're just putting up with a bunch of frustrations in your life unnecessarily. So the second thing is wellness. Don't put off or leave your physical and mental health low on your priority list. If you do, it's going to come back and bite you at some point later in the future if you do. So the reality is that you are not going to have more time to maintain your health next week or next month or next year. You have to make the time for it now. And it has to be worked into your schedule to do that. Otherwise, you'll end up just always putting it off, thinking I'll get to it next week. And you do this long enough, And eventually, you're going to be forced to deal with the consequences of not maintaining your body like a well-oiled machine. I did that for a long time, and then it took me a long time to get back to the health that I wanted. So the third thing is your life. Make sure you are living your life, not the life someone else thinks you should have, not your mother's expectations, not your father's expectations, or your friends or society, but your life. There's beauty in our individuality, in our uniqueness, but this has to be nurtured to bloom and grow. And only you have the capacity to know what truly makes your heart sing and what makes your soul feel serene. So while it's great to listen to the advice and suggestions of others, ultimately you really need to ask yourself the question, is this right for me? And while that may sound selfish, quite often it's far from it. There's actually much happiness to be found being in service to and helping others. And another thing is, you may be tempted to think to yourself, I can't live my life right now. I've got these kids to raise. And I know, certainly being a good parent requires an overwhelming amount of time and attention. Been there. But perhaps at this phase in your life, maybe being a mother is part of the life you desire. And then also don't forget that although sometimes it takes quite a bit of creativity, once children reach a certain age, there are certain aspects of what you enjoy doing that can be enjoyed with your children too. And I think too often we forget that. So if you have young children, you may want to pause this video or jot this down because you want to ask yourself the question, what things do I enjoy doing that I could find some way of enjoying doing more often with my children? So like I said, that one takes a little creativity, but I know you can get there. Fourth one is being present, slowing down to be present for your life as it's unfolding today. You don't have to quit your day job to do this. Rather, it's more a practice of looking for ways to appreciate tiny moments throughout the day and to notice the beauty that's all around you. Granted, I'm in a gorgeous park right now, but even sitting in my office, I'm noticing the plants or other beautiful things. So this happens through the practice of mindfulness and gratitude and appreciation. And if you already have a gratitude practice, that's fantastic. If not, try writing down 3 things every day that you're grateful for. So how do you practice appreciation and mindfulness? Well, first of all, you do it by making a true intention to practice it. It can help if you choose some regularly occurring activity that you want to practice being present with. So for me, like meal times are a great time for this, particularly since they're happening several times a day. And you might just want to start by challenging yourself to be fully present for just the first 5 minutes of every meal. And when you're doing that, really challenge yourself to look for ways that you can truly appreciate the meal with all 5 senses, the surroundings, the company you're with, etc. And the more you practice this, the easier it gets and the more insights you'll get from it as well. So the 5th thing is to prioritize what you love. Make time for what you love, for the things that you want to do and the people that you want to share time with. We all live very busy lives and we have to work to pay the bills, but it's also important to find time for the things that make you smile. In reality, you don't know if a loved one is going to be there tomorrow for you to enjoy spending time with. You just don't. And you don't know if you're going to be physically capable even, of doing the things that you might like to do in the future. So it's important to take that time now. Your work and your to-do list will always fill up with any extra time you have. You have to make the time for what you love. It took me years to realize that things truly weren't going to fall apart when we missed a scheduled time frame of something we were working on at the office. Now, granted, sometimes you have to forecast that out far enough in advance to be able to manage expectations, but most of the time there are really good reasons for setbacks and roadblocks that make that time frame that you had originally decided you were shooting for unrealistic, and that it won't work without, overtime. Your company will absolutely let you work more. In fact, typically they'll encourage it, even if they say otherwise. But you don't always have to let this be the answer. Sometimes it makes sense, but not every time. Sometimes it's okay to set the deadline back or to revise the goal. Maybe you don't have to do everything that was originally planned to get to that goal. So I promised you a story. A few years into my position as the tax director at Cincinnati Bell, we hired a company, a consulting firm, to assess the different departments and to give suggestions for improvements to each department head. And the work that my team was doing was categorized as platinum level, over the top. We were doing everything right. The suggestion that they made, however, really surprised me. The suggestion was that we take that standard down to a bronze level. Our team was working way too hard to do a good job on everything, even the things that really didn't matter. And honestly, that was a really hard change to make. We were so used to striving for perfection, but it really was the right change to make, both for the company and for the people in my department as well. So here's a journal prompt that I have for you that comes out of that. Are there things in your life that you are doing right now at a platinum level that you really only need to do them at a bronze level? So that's all I have for you here today. I hope that you have found one or more of these helpful to you. I hope you'll get out your journal tonight and try one of these journal prompts, and I hope that you find some really great insights from that and some positive changes that you can make towards moving your life in the direction of a more ideal life for you. If you'd like more content like this, be sure to hit the subscribe button, and I wish you an amazing week. Until next time, bye-bye.